The wedding bells echoed through the California hillside as guests filled the Italian villa replica. Alexander Graves stood at the altar, his billion-dollar smile gleaming, minutes away from marrying Cassandra Bell, a model with 2 million followers. Then the doors opened. Standing there was the woman he thought he'd erased from his story, the woman he'd invited to prove he'd moved on. Beside her, holding her hands, were 2 children with his dark eyes and sharp cheekbones. Children he never knew existed. This is the true story of how one wedding invitation became the beginning of the end, and how silence, when broken at the right moment, can be more powerful than any revenge. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Lila Morgan was 23 when she met Alexander Graves at a charity gala. Fresh out of college with a non-profit management degree and crushing student loans, she lived in a tiny San Francisco studio, working as a barista while taking online courses. She had vision, purpose, and an unshakable belief that hard work could change the world. Alexander, 28, was already a Silicon Valley darling. The son of a venture capitalist, he'd sold his first company for $30 million at 26 and was launching a sustainable energy venture. He was handsome, impeccably dressed, and effortlessly successful. When a speaker canceled at the gala Lila was helping coordinate, her boss asked her to fill in. She had 7 minutes to prepare remarks about financial literacy in underserved communities. Alexander, checking his phone in the back, looked up when she started speaking. Her raw honesty, her conviction, moved him genuinely. After the event, he approached her, asked thoughtful questions, and donated $50,000 to her organization. They became inseparable over 6 months. Alexander was captivated by Lila. She didn't care about his money, challenged him, made him feel seen beyond his wealth. Lila found herself falling for his intelligence and what seemed like genuine compassion. They'd stay up until 3 a.m. talking about dreams and fears. He whispered, "I love you," on a rainy Tuesday night, and she whispered it back, meaning it completely. But cracks formed around month 8. Alexander's company was preparing for major funding, bringing longer hours and more stress. He became distant, canceling plans, constantly checking his phone. When Lila asked if they were okay, he blamed the funding round stress and said everything would return to normal once it was done. She chose to believe him, though doubt had taken root. 2 months later, Lila discovered she was pregnant. Staring at the positive test, she felt her entire future rearrange. She tried desperately to reach Alexander. Calls went to voicemail, texts got delayed 1-sentence responses. For 3 days she tried. On the 4th day, she went to his office, but he was traveling for investor meetings. That night, unable to sleep, Lila turned on the television and saw him at a tech conference with his arm around a woman she'd never seen, Cassandra Bell, daughter of a prominent venture capitalist. The reporter discussed Alexander's $200 million Series B funding and his relationship with Cassandra. The camera zoomed in as Alexander kissed her. Not politely. Definitively. Lila felt something inside her break messily. She'd been a fool. She didn't call again. She simply packed her belongings, gave notice at her job, said goodbye to friends, and left San Francisco on a Tuesday morning, never looking back. Lila moved back to her Ohio hometown, to her mother's house. Her mother, who'd raised Lila alone after her father left, didn't ask questions, just opened her arms. When Lila revealed the pregnancy, her mother said simply, "We'll figure it out. We always do." Lila got a job at a local credit union as a financial counselor. She made a decision. She wouldn't tell Alexander about the baby. She wouldn't give him the opportunity to reject their child as he'd rejected her. This baby deserved a parent who chose to be there fully, not from guilt or obligation. At 6 months pregnant, during a routine ultrasound, the technician told her, "You're having twins." On a warm June morning, after 14 hours of labor, Lila gave birth to Noah and Nora. Holding them, she realized love hadn't destroyed her, it had saved her. The following years were the hardest and best of her life. She worked while her mother watched the twins, came home to feedings and chaos with 2 babies. Noah was quiet and thoughtful, building elaborate structures and asking endless questions. Nora was pure energy and fearless curiosity, climbing everything and befriending everyone. When the twins turned 2, Lila started offering free financial literacy workshops on weekends. Word spread. She started a blog, then a YouTube channel, sharing practical advice free of judgment. People responded to her honesty about her own struggles. By the time the twins started kindergarten, Lila was running her financial education business full-time, hiring staff and partnering with nonprofits. By the twins' 6th birthday, Lila had been featured in national magazines, invited to speak at conferences, and written a best-selling book. Her organization had helped over 50,000 families. She bought a house with a backyard. She'd built something meaningful without Alexander's money, connections, or name, on her own terms, driven by the memory of powerless poverty and determination that her children would never experience it. She rarely thought about Alexander anymore. When she did, it was with distant curiosity. She didn't hate him. She didn't love him. She'd simply moved past him. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday in October, Lila found a cream-colored envelope in her mailbox. Inside was a wedding invitation. Alexander Graves and Cassandra Bell were marrying in 2 months at an Italian villa replica in California. He'd gone to some effort to find her after 7 years of silence. Why? Noah saw it first. "Who's Alexander Graves?" he asked. "An old friend," Lila lied. "Are we going?" Nora asked. Lila looked at her children, their faces so much like their father's, and felt something harden in her chest. Maybe it was time to stop protecting him. Maybe it was time for Alexander to see exactly what he'd walked away from. After 3 weeks of debating, Lila decided to go. Not for revenge, but for closure, to face what she'd been running from and prove it no longer had power over her. Her mother advised, "Take those babies with you. Make sure he sees what he gave up." 2 weeks before the wedding, Lila made her decision. She would bring Noah and Nora. Not to hurt Alexander, but to honor the truth. The venue was extravagant, all stone, marble, and manicured gardens with luxury cars lining the driveway. Lila pulled up in her modest rental sedan, found seats near the back with her children, and waited. The ceremony proceeded normally. Cassandra walked down the aisle, beautiful and radiant. Vows were exchanged, rings placed on fingers. During the reception, held in a massive crystal chandeliered ballroom, Lila tried to blend in. But children draw attention. Eventually, a woman in a silver dress approached, asking how Lila knew Alexander. "We were friends. A long time ago." The woman noticed the twins. "Who do they look like?" "Their father," Lila said simply. 20 minutes later, someone whispered to Alexander. Lila watched confusion, then recognition, then panic cross his face. He scanned the room until his eyes landed on her and the children. His face went pale. He stared at Noah and Nora, and realization hit. Cassandra appeared at his elbow, asking what was wrong. He couldn't answer. Lila stood, took Noah's hand, called Nora back, and walked across the ballroom directly toward Alexander. The room seemed to quiet. "Hello, Alexander," she said calmly. "It's been a long time." Alexander couldn't speak. He looked at Lila, the children, then back. "What are you doing here?" "You invited me," Lila said, showing the invitation. Cassandra demanded, "Who is this?" "An old friend," Lila answered. "We knew each other 7 years ago, before he met you." "And the children?" Cassandra asked sharply. Lila looked directly at Alexander. "These are your children, Noah and Nora. They're 6 years old. They're brilliant and kind. And you've never met them because 7 years ago, when I was pregnant and trying to reach you, you were too busy securing funding and kissing your new girlfriend on television to answer my calls." The silence was deafening. Cassandra's face transformed from confusion to understanding to fury. You're saying Alexander has children he never told me about? Children he didn't know about, Lila clarified. Because I never told him. I tried to reach him for days, but he was always busy. Then I saw him on the news with you and realized he'd moved on. So I left. I had my babies. I built a life. I never contacted him because I didn't want to beg for scraps of attention while he played tech god. You should have told me, Alexander said weakly. Lila laughed sharply. I tried, Alexander. For 3 days I tried. You didn't answer. I was 25 and terrified and pregnant, and you were too busy building your empire. So forgive me if I decided I didn't owe you anything. Cassandra turned on Alexander. Is this true? Did you have a whole relationship I didn't know about? He ran his hand through his hair. It was complicated. No, Cassandra cut him off. This is you lying to me. This is you having children you never mentioned. This is insane. Guests were openly watching now. Music had stopped. Noah tugged Lila's hand. Mom, is that man my dad? Everyone heard it. Lila knelt to his level. Yes, sweetheart. That's your father. Nora added, the one you said was too busy to be with us? Yes, baby. That one. Alexander's mother, Catherine Graves, stood up. This is a setup, she announced loudly. This woman is trying to extort money. Those children probably aren't even Alexander's. We'll demand DNA tests. Lila turned to her coldly. Mrs. Graves, I don't want your money. I've built a very successful business. I have everything I need. As for DNA tests, feel free. I'm not afraid of the truth. Are you? Catherine flushed. How dare you? You're nothing. That's why my son moved on to someone appropriate. Lila kept her voice level. You're right. I'm nobody. Just the woman who loved your son and believed him. Just the woman who raised his children alone while he pretended we never existed. Just the woman who built something meaningful instead of tearing people down. And I'm proud to be that nobody. The room erupted, some approving, others scandalized. Cassandra's mother stormed over demanding answers. Cassandra cried, her dream day disintegrating. Alexander stood frozen, watching his life collapse. Then Alexander did something unexpected. He pulled away from everyone and walked to Noah and Nora, kneeling in front of them in his expensive tuxedo. Hi, he said, voice cracking. I'm Alexander. Noah looked at Lila uncertainly. She nodded permission. Hi. I'm Noah. This is my sister Nora. You look like us, Nora observed. Alexander's face crumpled. Yeah, I guess I do. Noah asked, do you like to build things? I do. Alexander's laugh was half sob. I do like to build things. That's actually my job. Nora crossed her arms. Mom says you were too busy building things to be our dad. Is that true? The question hung brutally in the air. Alexander looked at Lila, then back at Nora. Yes, it's true. I made a terrible mistake. I didn't know you existed, but I should have. I should have answered your mom's calls. I should have been there. And I'm so sorry. Noah asked thoughtfully, can you fix mistakes? Alexander nodded. Sometimes. If you work really hard and you mean it. Nora said matter-of-factly, well, you should probably start working really hard then. Because we're pretty great and you missed a lot. The simple honesty from a 6-year-old broke Alexander. He started crying openly in front of 300 guests. I know I missed so much. And I can't get that time back. But if you'll let me, if your mom will let me, I want to try. I want to know you. I want to be your dad. Behind him, Cassandra made a sound between laugh and sob. This is unbelievable. This is our wedding day, Alexander. And you're kneeling in front of your ex-girlfriend's children telling them you want to be their father. What about me? What about us? Alexander stood slowly, turned to face her. His face streaked with tears, tuxedo rumpled, hair disheveled, nothing like the confident man at the altar an hour earlier. I don't know what happens to us, Cassandra. An hour ago I thought I had my life figured out. Now I'm standing here realizing I have 2 children I've never met, a woman I never stopped loving even though I tried, and a marriage that started with a lie. You never stopped loving her? Cassandra's face hardened. Alexander looked at Lila. In the quiet room, he said, I tried. I convinced myself I had. But seeing her here, seeing what she's built, seeing our children, I realize I've been running from the only real thing I've ever had. Cassandra ripped off her engagement ring and threw it at Alexander. We're done. You can have your ready-made family and your great lost love. I'm not interested in being someone's second choice. She walked away with her entourage. Half the guests followed. The other half stayed, frozen. Catherine stepped forward, pale. Don't do this. Don't throw away everything we've built. Think about the company. Think about your reputation. Alexander looked at his mother, really looked. People will say I'm a man who finally stopped caring more about appearances than truth. People will say I found out I have children and chose to know them. If that damages my reputation, it wasn't worth having. He turned to Lila. I don't expect you to forgive me or let me into your life. But I'm asking you to give me a chance. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. Let me prove I can be the father Noah and Nora deserve. Lila looked at her children. You don't get to walk in and out of their lives whenever convenient. If you want to be their father, you show up. Consistently. You put them first. You earn their trust and love. You don't buy it. Can you do that? I can try. I want to try. Trying isn't good enough. You either do it or you don't. There's no middle ground. I won't let you break their hearts the way you broke mine. I won't, Alexander said. I promise you, Lila, I won't. Lila didn't know if she believed him. Promises were easy. Follow-through was hard. But Noah and Nora deserved the chance to have a father. Come on, babies. It's time to go. But we didn't get cake, Nora protested. We'll get cake somewhere else. Somewhere better. As they walked toward the door, Alexander called, Wait. Where are you staying? How do I reach you? Lila paused. If you really want to find us, Alexander, you will. You found me to send that invitation. You can find me again if you actually care. She walked out with her children, leaving behind the wreckage of a wedding and the beginning of something unnamed. Outside, the California sun was setting in orange and pink. Nora chased butterflies. Noah stayed close. Are we really going to see him again? I don't know, sweetheart. That depends on him. Do you want to? Noah thought carefully. Maybe. But only if he's nice. Only if he means it. Lila squeezed his hand. That's exactly right. Only if he means it. 2 months after the wedding, Lila received a package with a handwritten letter. Alexander wrote about the aftermath. Cassandra breaking the engagement, media frenzy, confronting his mother, starting therapy, working through patterns that prioritized ambition over connection. He wrote about wanting to meet Noah and Nora properly, with no pressure or expectations. The package included thoughtful gifts for the children, robotics kits for Noah, art supplies for Nora. Lila called her mother for advice. What does your gut tell you? My gut says he's trying, Lila admitted. Her mother said, then give him the chance to try. Not for him, but for those babies. They deserve a father who shows up. Lila arranged a meeting at a park. Alexander arrived early, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater. When they approached, he knelt down nervously. I'm really glad you came. I've been wanting to meet you properly. What do you want to talk about? Noah asked. Anything you want. Or we could just play. Nora grabbed Alexander's hand and dragged him to the playground. Noah stayed back with Lila. "He'll hurt us, won't he?" "I don't know, baby," Lila said honestly. "He might. But he also might not. And we won't know unless we give him a chance. What if I like him and then he leaves? Then it will hurt, and I'll be right here with you, and we'll get through it together." "But Noah, sometimes the risk of being hurt is worth it for the chance of being loved." Noah walked toward the playground where Alexander was cheering for Nora on the monkey bars. Over 2 hours, the awkwardness gradually shifted. Alexander pushed Nora on swings, listening to her chatter. He built sandcastles with Noah, asking thoughtful questions. For the first time, Lila imagined what it might look like if this worked. Not the fairy tale version, but the real version where broken people tried to do better. When leaving, Alexander said, "Thank you for this. For giving me a chance I don't deserve." "This was just the beginning," Lila replied. "Don't thank me yet. Thank me in a year when you've shown up to every birthday and school play and random Tuesday when they just need their dad." "I will. I promise." Nora hugged him goodbye without hesitation. Noah offered a small wave. 6 months passed. Alexander showed up. Not perfectly. There were stumbles, misunderstandings, old patterns threatening to reassert themselves. But he showed up. He attended Noah's robotics competition and Nora's art show. He learned their routines, their favorite foods, their specific preferences. He started having them for visits, first afternoons, then weekends. He met with Lila regularly to coordinate co-parenting. It wasn't always easy. There were arguments about boundaries, about Alexander trying to buy affection with expensive gifts until Lila explained that's not how love worked. There were moments when work threatened to interfere, and Lila reminded him children couldn't be scheduled around board meetings. There were tears when Alexander missed a school play, followed by a long conversation about reliability. But Alexander kept trying. He adjusted his work schedule, delegated responsibilities, put his children first in ways he never had before. And slowly, Lila felt something changing. Not love yet, but trust. The fragile, hard-won trust that comes from watching someone prove themselves through consistent action. One evening after dropping off the kids, Alexander asked if Lila wanted coffee. On his balcony, he said, "I owe you a real apology. 7 years ago. For not answering your calls, for moving on without looking back, for being so consumed by ambition I couldn't see what mattered. You were right at the wedding. I chose my career, my image, my comfortable life over us. That was the worst decision I ever made." "I've forgiven you," Lila said quietly. "Not right away, not easily, but I have." Holding on to that anger was exhausting. But forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't mean we pick up where we left off. "We can't," Alexander agreed. "We're different people now. You've built an incredible life. You've become this force of nature. You didn't need me to do any of that. I know. And I still don't need you. But the kids do. And maybe, eventually, I might want you in my life again. Not because I need you, but because I choose you. Because you've proven you're worth choosing." Alexander smiled. Real, vulnerable, earned. That's all I can ask for. The chance to be chosen. 1 year after the disastrous wedding, Lila and Alexander sat side by side at Noah and Nora's 7th birthday party in Lila's backyard. They'd worked together setting up, laughing about complicated instructions, finding an easy rhythm that felt both new and familiar. As the party wound down, Nora threw herself into Alexander's lap. "This was the best birthday ever. Did you like your presents?" Alexander asked. Noah nodded enthusiastically. "The robot kit is amazing." Nora added, "And I'm going to paint you both. Together." She said it casually, but the word hung in the air. Together. Lila and Alexander weren't officially together, hadn't put labels on whatever was developing. They were taking it slow, rebuilding trust, learning who each other was now. But there was something there, something growing, something worth nurturing. Later, at the door, Alexander paused. I know we're being careful, making sure this is right. But Lila, I want you to know that these kids, this family we're building, this is everything to me. This is what success actually looks like. Success looks like showing up even when it's hard, Lila said. It looks like choosing people over prestige, love over image, truth over comfort. You're learning that, Alexander. I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. I know. And that's enough. For now, that's enough. Lila's story isn't about revenge. It's about the courage to face your past without letting it define your future. It's about the strength required to raise children alone, build something meaningful from nothing, and survive heartbreak to emerge stronger. It's about the grace of forgiveness, not the kind that excuses or forgets, but that releases you from carrying someone else's mistakes. And maybe it's about the possibility that some stories don't end where we think they do. That sometimes people who hurt us can grow, can change, can become worthy of a second chance. Not because they deserve it, but because we choose to give it. Not because the past can be erased, but because the future doesn't have to be a prison built from old wounds. Think about the choices you've made in your own life. The relationships you've walked away from. The second chances you've given or withheld. The moments when you chose safety over risk, comfort over courage. Were those the right choices? Would you make them again? And if someone from your past walked back into your life tomorrow, someone who'd hurt you, someone who'd left you behind, would you have the strength to face them? Would you have the grace to forgive them? Would you have the wisdom to know whether they'd actually changed or whether they were just saying what you wanted to hear? These are the questions that make us human. These are the choices that define not just our relationships but our character. Lila chose to go to that wedding not to destroy Alexander but to free herself. She chose to reveal their children not from malice but from honesty. She chose to give Alexander a chance not because she was weak, but because she was strong enough to risk being hurt again for the possibility of something better. And Alexander chose to finally grow up, to stop hiding behind ambition and image, to do the hard work of becoming the man his children deserved. Their story isn't over. It's still being written in daily choices, in school pickups and bedtime stories, in difficult conversations and genuine connection. It's being written in Noah's growing confidence and Nora's boundless joy, in the family they're building not from blood alone, but from intention and effort and love that's earned rather than assumed. So I'll ask you one more time, what would you have done? Would you have been brave enough to walk into that wedding? Would you have been strong enough to walk away 7 years earlier? Would you have been wise enough to recognize the difference between someone who's truly changed and someone just performing change? Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us your stories. Have you ever had to make a choice like Lila's? Have you ever been given a second chance like Alexander? Did you take it? Did you deserve it? Did it work out? Because these stories, these moments of heartbreak and healing, of mistakes and growth, these are the stories that connect us all. They remind us that we're not alone in our struggles, in our doubts, in our hopes for redemption and second chances. They remind us that life is messy and complicated and rarely follows the script we've written in our heads. But they also remind us that we have the power to write new chapters, to make different choices, to become different people if we're willing to do the work. If this story moved you, if it made you think about your own life and the choices you've made, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss the stories that remind us what it means to be human, to struggle and survive, and sometimes, if we're very lucky, to find our way back to the people we thought we'd lost forever. Thank you for staying with us through this journey. Thank you for caring about Lila and Alexander and Noah and Nora. And remember, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to avoid making mistakes. It's to have the courage to face them, to learn from them, and to choose, every single day, to be better than you were yesterday. Until next time.